Hello, welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for Thursday, December 14th. We are here. We are going to be breaking it down. We got a 7-game slate tonight, and it's an interesting one. These are kind of my favorite size slates. That's 6 to 8 range, where it's not too big, not too small. You got to dig into some details, but not, digging into the weeds. So, let's get into the slate here. Before we do, come join us at LionStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do. You also could do this little yearly one, and that would be a nice little stocking stuffer or a gift to a loved one, as it's only $20 a month if you do the year price. By far the best deal in the industry. So, come join us. Let's do it. Let's get into the slate. So, as I said, 7-gamer. We got 245 total is the highest, and that is 13 points higher than the Golden State and Clipper game, which would be the second highest. Now, all in all, I think it's a fun slate. We do have some injury news to go over, and we will touch upon that as we go through the slate in trying to make this as short as we can. All right, Colin Sexton, look, we have him at almost 40% owned. Right now, he's probably going to be more like 60% owned. He is just in an absolutely smash spot. And I do believe that on both sites, he will be very, very high owned. However, on FanDuel right now, we don't have him as the super chalk. We have Spencer Dinwiddie, Malik Monk, and James Harden. Now, I do expect Colin Sexton to get in there, and it's just because on FanDuel he's at shooting guard, not at power forward, or point guard. All right, so we got Dinwiddie, Malik Monk, James Harden. Look, Dinwiddie I think is fine. They are on a back-to-back. He's been playing well lately, and I do think a little bit of his upside is priced in at this point. 6,800. He does and can hit 50, but it's few and far between. And it's most likely happens when people are out, and people aren't really out. So I don't love it. Can he get to 40? Yes. I just don't think there's 7-8x upside there tonight, and that is a reason why I'm probably not getting quite as much as the field. Malik Monk. Look, I love him as a player, love him at playing him on GPPs. I just don't like going there when everybody is going there. I said last game there's a good chance that he'd go back down in minutes after, several of being up in that 28 plus range. And it's still the case. Look, he has to play well to get extra minutes. If he's not playing well, he just doesn't get them. So that's the thing with him. That's the thing with pretty much anybody off the bench, and that's why they go so much lower owned. Having a bench player this high owned is always a little scary. I don't love it. But I understand taking some shots there. It is the highest game total of the slate. James Harden, look, he's straight up been balling. Do not mind going there at 8K. I think there's a very good chance he ends up in the mid-40s, and at 8.1K, you got to consider that. Guys I like, Darius Garland. Look, I said this last time when he went for 40. Without Evan Mobley there, he gets a bump up like Donovan Mitchell's gone. So a very similar bump up. Mitchell gets a similar bump as well. I like both of those guys. But Garland's pricing is way more interesting to me, and they haven't been as tough to point guards as you would think. So I don't mind going back to Garland there. Chris Paul's a little interesting. No Draymond Green, so he maybe plays a few extra minutes. On the season, he's only been averaging 26. However, over the last 5, he's up to 30. Over the last 20, he's at 33. I think he's a little bit interesting, thinking that he's going to get a few extra minutes. He might start, but I actually would kind of prefer if he came off the bench. However, point guard off the bench, does have to go against Russell Westbrook in this matchup. But the little bit that Harden's going to be guarding him is nice as well. Luka, look, it's no Kyrie Irving, so Luka obviously a consideration. 90-point upside is there, and pretty safe for 60 plus. So I don't mind going there at all. And that will do for point guard. Going over to DraftKings highest owned point guards. We got Sexton, Doncic, and Simons. I don't mind going to Simons. I do like him. I've been playing him a ton. But his price is getting up there a little bit. And while he does have that 50-point upside, I don't think he's going to hit it that often, even though he has the last 2 games. 5 threes last game, 4 the game before that, 6 the game before that. When the dude is shooting well, he can score with the best of them. And I don't mind going there. He's going to be taking some shots. One thing to add here is Malcolm Brogdon is questionable. And if Brogdon is in, his upside isn't quite as high as with Brogdon is out. He's just simply not going to play the same amount of minutes with Brogdon playing. So I don't love it, but don't mind it. We'll have a little bit for sure. And over to the matchup. So we got Fox, Brogdon, and Dinwiddie at the top of the matchups. For point guard, with Garland coming right in there as well. All of them, I would say, are in consideration, with obviously Sexton, if you're on DK, is in consideration of point guard as well. All of them look nice. Wouldn't really shy away from any of them, just due to ownership at least. Shooting guard, we got Sexton, we got Dinwiddie, and Monk. Look, he's coming in almost 40 on ours. We do try to push some ownership down a little bit. I think this is a case that Sexton might go higher owned. 40, 50, 60% owned would be my guess. He looks great, and I hope you guys listened to me yesterday when I said there's a potential for him to get extra minutes, and if he does, or if he's a starter, he's a slam button because he absolutely crushed almost 40 at 5.1K. Very good spot. And in another very good spot. Do not mind going back to him. One of the things I will say, his minutes are a little up in the air. Keaton George is out. Jordan Clarkson is out. So he's going to get minutes. But, you're never really sure how many the Jazz are going to give to him. And I think a nice, interesting pivot is THT, or to, play both of them. I think both of them are interesting. I'm going to have a lot of both. Both of them carry upside. Both of them are good fantasy producers. I am intrigued on both. Dinwiddie, we talked about. Malik Monk, we talked about. Jaden Hardy. Look, Hardy got 34 minutes when Hardaway was out. He only got 19 last game. Now, we do have Seth Curry out, and he did start the second half without Steph Curry, so I think there is a lane for him starting today. Even if he doesn't start and Hardaway starts, then he's the first guy off the bench probably, and I like him in that situation too. So Hardy I am interested in, but we're going to have to watch the news here, as, not totally sure of what to take from it. I do expect him. We have him at 18 minutes right now. I think I put him at 20 or 22 in my own aspect. So we're, it's kind of wait and be seen with Hardy, but he does have a nice fantasy upside if he gets the minutes. And if he's on the floor without Doncic, it's even better. And Tim Hardaway is the last shooting guard we have not talked about that we got to consider here. Look, when Irving's out and he's playing, it's just him and Doncic. He has a green light to shoot, and when he shoots well, he can fill it up. So I like the upside here. The price is getting a little bit high for me, but I'm going to be getting a little bit, and I don't mind the low ownership there as well. And over to shooting guard on DraftKings, Sexton, THT, and Jamal Cain. Glad Cain is up there. He got into the rotation again last night, played 29 minutes. I think if he's going to play 24, 26 minutes, he's kind of interesting and do not mind going there whatsoever. One thing I would say is we're really not sure of his minutes, and his ownership probably should be lower because of that uncertainty. So that's the one, spot where you may want to fade him, but I don't mind going there. I do think he's going to have some minutes, and he's produced in the past, with minutes. So I don't mind it, don't hate it, don't love it kind of situation. Shooting guard matchup tool, Caruso, Simons, Exum, Edwards. Don't love going to Caruso. He's been injured, not totally sure the minutes. It is an ankle. He's questionable. He could play, could not. And he's just kind of okay. I think he's priced a little bit high. He does still have a little bit of a ceiling, but, not great. Simons, obviously in a great spot. Do like him. Getting priced high. Same with Exum. 6,600 is just high. I think it takes away a lot of his ceiling. However, I still will get a little bit of him. He obviously does have a little bit of ceiling with a 42 and a 43 over this last week, and I'm okay with that at 6.6K. And Edwards, not sure if he's playing. He sat out last game, got hurt the game before that. They're going to have likely be fairly cautious with him. Really not sure what's going to go here, but, he now has had almost a week rest. Not sure exactly how the severity of that hip injury. Now, getting over to small forward, high-owned guys, Caleb Martin, THT, and Jimmy B. Caleb is fine. His price is just getting high, just like I talked about the other day. I don't mind going there still, but a little bit of that ceiling is getting taken out at 6,500 here. But, solid floor against the Bulls. It's kind of one of those I'm going to have a little bit, probably not get up to 25%. THTs, we talked about. Jimmy B, look, it's his show again. The only thing is at 8.7K, there's not a ton of ceiling there. He has, 250 burgers so far this year. He really needs to get up to that high 40s, 50s to pay off the salary, which he absolutely can do in this matchup. I just don't love it. One thing I will show is, he hasn't been great versus Chicago in a while. So that's the only thing there. But I will be getting to some Jimmy B without a doubt. Might be matching ownership. Not too sure at this point. Kawhi Leonard, dude's been balling. Paul George is questionable, which would make him, even me, a little bit more usage. So don't mind going there whatsoever. Can't hate it. He's low owned, so I'm intrigued. Simone Fontecchino. Look, I do think his 5K salary is a little bit high. I wish he was more in the, high fours. But that's the reason he's going low owned. Look, Utah Jazz are limited. We also don't know about John Collins yet. If he is out, they're even more limited. The minutes should be there, and it's a bad Portland team. So I am intrigued at low ownership with a nice little value piece there. Julian Strawhurst, kind of similar situation. He should play. It's either going to be him or Christian Braun who gets the minutes. Strawhurst played the minutes last night once KCP was hurt, and he's been balling those last two games. So a little bit interested in him at 4.4K. Just know that it could be Christian Braun in this situation. We're just not totally sure yet, being that it is earlier in the day. And looking at DraftKings, small forward, high owned, we got Dort, we got THT, and Kane. So a lot of value guys here. You would be getting a lot different paying up at small forward. Dort is just a little bit too cheap on DraftKings at 4,300. He's going to play minutes in a high-scoring game. Don't mind going there whatsoever. Kane, we talked about. And going over to the matchup tool. Paul George, questionable. So keep your eyes on that. Norman Powell becomes a little bit of a value if George is out. And then if that happens, Westbrook might get a little extra playing time, as he would be probably the first guy off the bench. MPJ, don't mind it, don't hate it. They're just likely back at full strength. Strus does get a little bit bump out without Mobley out. And power forward, we got high-owned guys, Kelly Olynyk, Caleb Martin, Domantas Sabonis. Olynyk is getting a bump up from all their guys hurt. The one thing I will say with this is Walker Kessler, I think, is going to play. John Collins is questionable. So on the big guy side, outside of Lauri Markkanen, they're kind of full strength. So I don't love Olynyk in these similar spots. He hasn't been getting a ton of minutes. So I don't totally know if he's going to. He did start the last 2 games. So probably starts again, but not totally sure about the situation. I think news is going to have to kind of let us know later in the day, but I do think 40% owned is probably a little bit too high. Caleb Martin, we talked about. Sabonis, he's in a really good spot versus this OKC team. And frankly, this is just a good game with a good score total. Don't mind going here. He has the upside to get to 60 when it's all going for him. And other guys we need to consider here. Porzingis. I said you can attack Evan Mobley last week, or the Cavs without Evan Mobley. He's not there again. He had 44 last game, and that's with him starting super, super slow. If he can put a full game of effort, he can definitely put up a 50 burger against them. I am intrigued with Porzingis against this Cavs team that loses their best defensive player. Grant Williams, look, we're just searching for some sort of value here. Derek Jones is questionable. If he's out, Grant Williams' minutes are a little more secure. He played 40 last game. If he's able to get 34 plus because Jones is out, I'm intrigued here. Saric. All right, Saric and Looney. I want to talk about both of these guys here. So there's no Draymond. Saric and Looney could split 24 minutes each. One could start and play a little bit more. Not totally sure what's going to happen here. When he has started 26, 32, 24, 20, his minutes have kind of been all over the place. But when he plays good, he does get extra minutes. He plays, efficiently too. Fantasy point per minute, 1.07, 1.13 over the last 20. I don't mind going and getting to some Saric at low ownership. And I think him or Looney are kind of interesting in this situation. I do expect one of them to start, and both of them are much better off without Draymond. So I think taking some swings on them is interesting. One thing I do want to note about that is I wouldn't play them together. They're not ever going to be on the court together. It's going to be one or the other pretty much. And I'm intrigued by that situation versus the Clippers, who aren't great versus center. And getting over to center on DraftKings. So Kelly Olynyk, Sabonis, Chet, and Vooch are the highest owned guys. I like all of them. I think Holmgren is in an interesting spot in a game we like. He is at 8K. He can get to that 40s, has 60-point ceiling if he's getting the blocks and the steals. Don't mind getting here whatsoever with his ceiling in an okay matchup. Vooch, look, without Levine, he's been straight up balling, playing solid minutes, and don't mind going back against a team that doesn't have Bam, so their interior defense is much worse. So do not mind some Vooch in this spot. Porzingis we talked about. Looney we just talked about a little bit also. I think Looney's an interesting kind of value piece. He's just kind of a scary one because you don't know his minutes. We also don't know if he's going to be in the starting lineup. And unfortunately, Saric is $600 more. This is a situation where I would have loved for them to both be the same price, because then it's interchangeable in your lineups. But I do think that he's an interesting value piece. He likely starts and Saric comes off the bench, but his minutes, I would say, Looney's minutes are more in question than Saric's minutes. I think Saric, you can pretty much count on 22 to 26, where Looney could be 28, but he could be 22 or 20. So, interesting kind of value pieces in that last game for sure. And on to DraftKings. High ownership. We got Olynyk, Taylor Hendricks, and Domantas Sabonis. Nick Claxton is an interesting one. I think centers versus Denver has done really good. Teams are just attacking Jokic on defense, and if they do that tonight, Claxton definitely has the ability for a 50 burger. So at his price, I'm intrigued a little bit. And on to matchups, we got Nick Claxton, Gobert, Holmgren, and Sabonis as the top. We got to touch on Orlando Robinson. I'm real concerned with his minutes after only getting 12 last game, 22 the game before that, 20 the game before that. So he does likely start again, but it could be Thomas Bryant stepping in, starting, because Bryant did get some minutes again last night. The other thing is that Kevin Love has been playing really well as a backup to Robinson, so don't mind going Kevin Love. And I actually would really, really like if the Heat threw Kevin Love at center tonight, but we'll see if they do. Anyways, guys, all in all, pretty interesting slate here. I think there's definitely a few different ways to go. Obviously, a lot is going to change. There's still some injury news left out there to come through. So with that, understand that, you know, these kind of picks are based on what we know now. Tried to give you some if but when type situation, but hard to do when we're really not sure what's going on totally. Anyways, guys, have a good one. Good luck tonight, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.